Hi, my name is Jacob Adams, and I'm a fitness and leadership coach. I help people just like you achieve more. Have you recently taken Jordan Peterson's self-authoring program? It's a program that asks you to revisit your past and make detailed epochs, or they're called epochs, stages of your past. Write them down, analyze them, and have an understanding of who you were and why it is that you are who you are. And also look at your future and write down as to a plan as to how you plan to go ahead and address your future plans. What is it you want to become and why? Once you understand these, you start moving in that direction. I know I sat down and did mine in November. By the end of November, I took about 20 some odd hours or so in November and did my self-authoring. It was quite an event, right? It was 20 some hours over the course of several days to analyze my past and stuff like that. And gee, even just talking about it, I think there's a raw nerve still within me several months later into how that felt. I can recall how it felt to be really analyze myself and come to grips as to some of the stuff that's holding me back. Whether in the past it could have been some control issues, jealousy issues in relationships, money scripts that my parents may have instilled within me, just a lot of stuff, just a lot of stuff. I think that I'll get to some of the stuff that I'm experiencing now in a bit, but when I sat down and did this, it was pretty challenging to do it. And I remember thinking to myself, after I felt vulnerable and raw, after all those hours, I wondered when it was that there would be a benefit to this. And even to this day, I have a sort of compass as to things that I have to avoid. It could be staying up late, becoming too party driven, whatever that means. I'll kind of leave you at that. I've made plenty of videos that goes into some of my challenges, but being too much of a party driven individual, and that's pretty much it. If I go to sleep late and become too party driven, those are my main triggers for me. So that came out of self-authoring and working through avoiding those things and focusing more on things like YouTube and my career and my business. Those were some of the things that came out of self-authoring. And here we are 4 months later, 5 months later, so say it's December, January, February, March, April, May. 6 months later, half a year has passed by since I completed self-authoring. And since that time, I've lost 17 pounds. I think I look better. I've had now 2 new jobs. 1 new job didn't work out. I was in a car accident that I almost died in and had this profound spiritual experience through that. I'm still single, and I'm now feeling emotionally ready to start dating again. And I've started throwing that out there to people that may be interested in dating. I started throwing that out there like, hey, I'm interested in seeing people now. And that's something that's happened over the course of the last 6 months, where 6 months prior, I probably still was kind of closed off, where now I could definitely use a new friend or start making friends again, in the potential and the thoughts of being dating. So those are some of the shifts that have occurred in 6 months. Pretty profound changes, and also some of the biggest challenges are now facing me. And what I told you at the beginning, I need to develop my YouTube channel. I need to develop my career skills more, become more proficient in the marketplace, and really dial down on that skill set, because that's what I need to fulfill and support my family, to help my mother and my father. And really focusing in on those skill sets is what I have come to conclude with the self-authoring. And so here we are 6 months later, and those were my findings. And still to this day, those are my findings, and hence here I am making a YouTube video kind of about it to sort of show the correlation that, part of my objective is to get my message out there. You know, one of my core messages was common sense self-mastery. And that was one of the cores of my work, common sense self-mastery. And even, you know, it's common sense that, yeah, well, you know, you got to focus on your YouTube, well, do it, right? So here we are, and developing the discipline to improve the channel and the skill sets of my career and stuff like that, becoming a more proficient trainer. Like I said, I'm a fitness and leadership coach, becoming a more proficient trainer, developing Advocare. I've gotten into things like cryptocurrency now. So got a new car because of the car accident, praying so much for my family these days. So you could say has anything changed in 6 months? Yes. Significant changes. Like I said, the challenges alone that I'm facing they're probably the hardest I've experienced in my life, and that alone is a reason to make this video. The results, as far as in 6 months, like I say, the pros, I can't elicit any cons. I think it's making me so self-aware that there's really no cons to what I did self-authoring. I can't report any cons. If anything, there's a lot more clarity to the higher levels of thinking, self-accountability. So there's no cons. As far as an immediate way to explain the pros of self-authoring or the wins, you know, there's no losses. You can't be more self-aware of yourself and what you are, who you've become, and where you're going, and say there's a loss. The pros are, I really don't feel like an everyday, common day person. I feel like I'm on a mission, and I'm very connected to my reality. Whereas in, like, I think it's easy to fall into like an average sort of humdrum, going with a crowd type mentality, where I see myself as pretty much the hero of my story, and I need to stick to it and act accordingly, but not in an arrogant fashion, just as like that's my reality. And so there's a definite dialing into, you know, I have joy in my heart. This is my reality. I'm working with it. My life is not hunky-dory by any stretch. Like I said, I'm going through the most difficult challenges of my life. So my life is not a hunky-dory experience right now, okay? I don't want to make it seem like it is, or that self-authoring is going to just solve all your issues. So keep that in mind, okay? Don't expect self-authoring to solve all your problems. It hasn't solved all of mine. It does highlight your issues, and you have to put in the work, the discipline, the mental capacity to sacrifice vices, sacrifice excuses, and dial in. Like, I kind of didn't want to make this video. I just made one. It took me several hours to, you know, format it, and I didn't want to make this video, but I said, you know what would the best self of what would your best version of self do, Jacob? And we'll make the video. So I'm making the video, kind of pushing, very much so pushing through that discomfort phase. And it's not because I'm shy. I just want to go to the gym. I want to work out. You know, the Cavs are playing the Warriors. I want to watch the game, you know, stuff like that, okay? So that's some of my results, is that I'm more connected to my own story, and I'm willing to work in that story and feel a lot of self-acceptance. I hope that makes some sense. Self-acceptance, clarity, the hero of my own story, not from an arrogant place, just almost like a humble place, actually. There's a lot of humility in owning your story and taking the good with the bad, or the hard stuff with the good stuff, and like just really breathing into that reality. So I'm really doing my best to explain to you what self-authoring did here, okay? From my own words. Okay, I think that if we look at, let's say, prior to self-authoring, I don't think I was a worse person or anything. I think that anyone that doesn't do self-authoring, or if you look at the opinions of psychology in the past, we kind of thought of it, psychology or psychological health, or you know, anything like psychotherapy as some sort of luxury for the rich, or for the whiny babies, or so, for whiners, people that wanted to complain. I think that now emotional health and psychological health is a need to actually take ownership of one's own environment internally, and not push that into others. world and be more mindful of others and how we affect others and take the ownership of that. So that's really the current view, in contrast to not only my prior to self-authoring, but prior to being an adopter of psychotherapy and its modalities and its tools of self-awareness, literature, and things like that, okay? So I think that now it's definitely far more, okay, well, everybody's equal. How are we going to walk this earth influencing and creating value and making peace with our world and not looking to hurt others just to get what we want? And not to say that that's who I was, as much as there's a far more accountability to how I treat others. Like, let's just say let's say we're hanging out, yes, I'm gonna likely try to share something with you, like a supplement or maybe cryptocurrency or an idea, and that's, I think, a positive influence. That is something that I'm gonna share with you to influence you in a positive way. Whereas let's just say you're wearing shoes that I don't necessarily like a brand in, for me to try to change your mind of that brand for my own, because of my own feelings about it, would be more of a selfish act. And so understanding that difference and sharing one while holding my opinions of the other and allowing you your own space to be yourself, that would be an example of discerning from a good influence to more of a more selfish influence, to give you an example. Because one I'm doing sort of out of a win-win situation, and one I'm doing just out of winning your perspective or changing your mind for myself, just because I don't like that brand of shoes. And I know it's kind of a funny idea, but just sort of that's something for you to kind of think, oh, okay, I kind of get the difference and the idea of psychological help. Okay, health. Okay, so the best thing I tell you is to try self-authoring yourself. This is Jordan Peterson behind me, and that's Russell Brand. Russell Brand wrote a book called Recovery, which was, I thought, really good, and I listened to the audiobook, and I found it invaluable. And at the beginning of the year, I really was working through a 12-step process, and I think it helped a lot, and I'm gonna go back to it. I don't suffer from significant addictions, just addictive behavior. And I've talked to people, and a lot of people think they have addictive behavior. So I would encourage you to go to selfauthoring.com and try it yourself. I think the entire program is like $29 for both, and it does take time, so you're gonna need to set some time aside and do it and commit, and then be mindful of what you learn. Definitely would recommend this to adults or people that are old enough to find the discipline in themselves to apply it. Otherwise, you don't want to just buy it and waste your money and do nothing with it, okay? So that's it, just do that. And if you don't want to do that, you can take, maybe read a book by Carl Jung, or look up videos on YouTube about psychotherapy, or there's all types of resources on YouTube as to how to study mental health, and how to have emotional intelligence, and how to own oneself. I know a lot of my videos, like the one I just made prior to this, was about faith, and it just goes into how I'm using faith as a tool to, as a reality. I don't even want to call it a tool, as a reality, as a substance, as a behavior, a belief system, to help move me to the next level, the next point of my life. And that's what I made a video about. And so there's all types of ways to uncover and improve and increase and expand and be self-aware of your own mental state. Mine currently is somebody expanding through the challenges or the perceived challenges of myself. And I use modalities like hypnosis, meditation, working out, talking to friends, sharing, making videos, researching books. And some people may not need that. I mean, I'm a fitness and leadership coach, so it stands to reason that, when I'm talking to clients, I'm not speaking from some pedestal. It comes from a place of my own struggles and understanding what that struggle really is, and researching and applying and testing. And so when I give it advice like this video or etc., it comes from a real place of growth, not just some dead kind of trendy do this thing. Everything that I've made, all my videos, whether it's friends with benefits, whether it's walking away from friends with benefits, whether it's your bag of shit, the inner critic, self-doubt, whether it's, countless videos I've made, they all came from a place of true effort to really contribute. And so I hope they've helped you on some level. And then naturally, the most common thing that a person could do in self-authoring or not doing it is to do nothing at all. It's to assume that psychotherapy, psychoanalysis, self-authoring, all types of self-help are bullshit. And I just don't subscribe to that, because it's helped me from every morning when I wake up in the morning. I drink 12 ounces of water. I take my vitamins. I think that sleeping is so important. I think healthy friends are important. Getting away from negative friends are important.